In the hours before the Titanic struck an iceberg, at least 6 separate warnings had already reached the ship. The final one, the most specific, most urgent warning of all, never made it to the bridge. This is the story of how a series of small decisions, not one single mistake, sank the unsinkable ship. The RMS Titanic set sail from Southampton, England on April 10, 1912, on its very first voyage. It was the largest passenger ship in the world at the time, and its design, 16 watertight compartments, had earned it a reputation as practically unsinkable. Captain Edward Smith, a veteran officer nearing retirement, was in command. 4 days into the crossing, everything seemed routine. Passengers enjoyed the ship's amenities, unaware that hundreds of miles ahead, the North Atlantic was unusually full of ice that spring. On the morning of April 14th, Captain Smith received the first ice warning of the day from a ship called the Caronia. Throughout the day, more warnings followed from other vessels in the area, describing icebergs and ice fields directly in the Titanic's path. Smith adjusted the ship's course slightly south in response, but did not reduce its speed. The Titanic continued forward at roughly 22 knots, close to its cruising speed through waters known to contain ice. In the evening, a ship called the Masaba sent a detailed warning describing heavy pack ice and a large number of icebergs directly ahead. The Titanic's wireless operator, Jack Phillips, was busy relaying passenger messages and never passed this warning onto the bridge. Later that night, a nearby ship, the Californian, tried to send yet another ice warning, but by then Phillips, exhausted after a long shift, reportedly told them to stop interrupting his signal. It would be the last warning received before disaster struck. Meanwhile, conditions on the water made things worse. The sea was unusually calm that night, with almost no waves breaking against the base of icebergs, meaning lookouts had far less chance of spotting one in time. Making matters worse, the binoculars normally used in the crow's nest were missing for this voyage. At 11:40 p.m., lookout Frederick Fleet spotted a dark shape directly ahead, an iceberg less than a quarter mile away. He rang the warning bell and telephoned the bridge. First Officer William Murdoch immediately ordered the ship turned hard and the engines reversed. But the Titanic was massive and there was no time. Only about 37 seconds passed between the sighting and the collision. The iceberg scraped along roughly 300 feet of the ship's starboard hull, puncturing multiple compartments below the waterline. The ship had been built to stay afloat with up to 4 compartments flooded. 6 were breached. Titanic's own designer, Thomas Andrews, surveyed the damage himself and gave his verdict. The ship had, at most, 1 to 2 hours left. The iceberg alone didn't doom everyone aboard. The ship carried only 20 lifeboats, enough for just over half of the more than 2,200 people on board, even though it technically met the outdated safety regulations of the time. Crews lowered many lifeboats without filling them to capacity, partly out of doubt that the lowering equipment could hold a fully loaded boat's weight. In the end, more than 1,500 people lost their lives. Investigations by both the US and British governments concluded that no single failure caused the disaster. It was a chain of small decisions, ignored warnings, high speed in icy waters, insufficient lifeboats, and a still, ice-hiding sea, all compounding into tragedy. The Titanic disaster led directly to major reforms in maritime safety, including new international rules requiring enough lifeboats for everyone aboard. More than a century later, it remains one of history's clearest examples of how disaster rarely comes from one single mistake, but from many small ones, ignored one at a time. If you want more deep dives like this, subscribe and tell me in the comments what historical event you want covered next.